Well, salutations, fellow idiots. Welcome back to yet another episode of that full moon madness, baby. So we got the old twin bed set up back here in the office while we have room, and we're fixing to pull a proper motherfucking full moon marathon for you fine folks. Basically just going to be out here for the next, 4 or 5 days doing nothing but watching this shit and reviewing it. And to kick that off, we have the first film in our fourth wave of reviews here for the series, and that is 1990's Shadowzone. This is one of 3 films that Full Moon did under the Full Moon Studios moniker when they first launched as a company. After Charlie Band dissolved Empire, or sold it off, there's a whole timeline of Full Moon, including their prehistory, their various name changes, and the various sub-labels that I am going to put together here in the near future. But in any case, this is one of 3 movies that they did between 1989 and 1991 as Full Moon Studios. The first being Puppet Master, the second being Shadowzone, and the third being Meridian. So I found that pretty interesting that it happened just out of coincidence. We covered 2 out of the 3 in this batch. In any case, Shadowzone is definitely an unsung gem of their early 90s catalog. Unfortunately, it is not one that I had childhood experience with or previous exposure to. I'd never even seen this shit pop up in tape groups. I found out about it simply because I was going through the list of early 90s Full Moon stuff and adding all of it to my master list for collection purposes. And I'm super glad that I bought it because it's definitely became a new to me classic, and hopefully I can convince you guys to get out there and check this motherfucker out so it can become one for you as well. So without wasting any more time, let's get this shit going. Shadowzone was written and directed by J.S. Cardone, produced by Carol Cottonbrook and Charles Band, and it stars Louise Fletcher, David Beecroft, James Hong, Frederick Flynn, Sean Weatherly, Miguel motherfucking Nunez, and Lou Leonard. It had cinematography by Karen Grossman, music by Richard Band, and was distributed by Full Moon, with a release date of February 22nd, 1990. Basic gist of Shadowzone is Captain Hickok has been sent by NASA as an investigator to look into the deaths taking place at this facility out in the desert that houses something called Project Shadowzone, which is ran by Louise Fletcher and James Hong, playing the 2 lead scientists of the project. And basically what it is they've been doing research on deep sleep, severing people's cerebral cortex or something like that electronically to allow them to fall into these crazy deep sleep states that potentially could have some benefits for, space travel and whatnot. Somehow, through this research, they've had a mysterious death take place, so naturally NASA sends this dude out to check out what's going on. After them being kind of tight-lipped about it through a pretty grisly accident, it is revealed that this sleep experimentation that they've been doing actually unlocked, this portal to another dimension through a certain level of, deep sleep. So essentially, a person can be used as a conduit to transfer a being from this other dimension over to our dimension. And that's exactly what happens. Only problem is this being is radioactive, and Project Shadowzone is housed in an Cold War bunker that has all these fail-safes in place to lock the bitch down in case of radiation. So they all end up trapped in there with this murderous being from another dimension that wants nothing more than to rip them to shreds while pursuing a path back home to its own dimension. So as you might imagine, old Captain Hickok, played by David Beecroft, sets out to stop this being and, free them from this facility with the help of Miguel Nunez. Meanwhile, Louise Fletcher seems a lot more interested in studying it and learning about it and interacting with it, which, as you can imagine, leads to some pretty unfortunate results. The movie gets pretty fucking insane, locks you right in from the beginning and keeps up the momentum throughout. It's everything that it bills itself as. It's pretty much a combination of The Thing and Alien with a little dash of Dreamscape, like I've mentioned. And overall, it's really enjoyable. Some decent special effects up in there, some nice splattery bits, couple good pairs of titties, decent score by Richard Band. I mean, he's no slouch when it comes to cutting a piece of music. And overall, I just really don't understand why more people don't talk about this movie. Is it amazing? No, it didn't reinvent the wheel or anything. but it's a solid little sci-fi horror flick filled with solid performances by a solid cast. What more do you need, really? If I had any gripe about this movie whatsoever, it's that James Hong seems like he was kind of phoning it in. Even though he does have some funny bits in the movie, his performance is the weakest overall. And there was a couple of kills that they didn't get to show on screen. I don't know if that's because Shadowzone, the standard edition of it, is cut. There's a whole lot of full frontal nudity and other violence, so I don't know. I do know there is a director's cut of the film that exists that might show a couple of those, but they're still pretty effective kills even happening off camera. Were I to throw out some highlights from this bitch, definitely in terms of performances, it would be David Beecroft. Dude is throwing down. He's convincing throughout the entire thing. Kind of fell in love with him, honestly, through his performance in this. He's sort of what I would want in my mind's eye, my, sort of perfect, random video game style sci-fi horror hero to be. And it's a shame he hasn't been in more stuff that I've seen, and I definitely need to see more stuff that he's been in. That was sort of my main takeaway as far as, acting from this thing. In terms of special effects, the creature design is really good. You saw little glimpses of that in the footage, and I highly recommend, appreciating that when you watch the final product. In terms of kills, obviously, the exploding head is a fucking highlight for sure. I always like a good melon buster. But my overall favorite kill is definitely when the giant rat bursts through the wall and eats the lunch lady. I just find that shit hilarious. I know it's super campy and probably takes a bit away from the seriousness of the rest of the movie, but goddamn do I love that shit. Overall, like I said, is Shadowzone perfect? No, not by any means, but it's not bad either. It's just solid sci-fi horror, and sometimes that's what you need. It's also got a lot of vibes in common with Crash and Burn, being as J.S. Cardone, who wrote and directed this bitch, also wrote Crash and Burn. So that's a solid plus in the pros column for us Full Moon fans. I just can't recommend checking it out enough. It's one of those movies, once you see it, you'll be like, God damn, how was I not renting that all the fucking time as a little kid? And that's obviously one of the benefits of picking through the fucking library here. We can discover some of these hidden gems that we missed in the catalog of a studio that most of us are pretty intimately familiar with. Definitely got a couple other recent pickups I think are going to fall into that category. But in any case, get the fuck out there. Check out Shadowzone as soon as you can. It's available for free on Tubi with limited ads, or you can watch it ad-free on Full Moon Streaming. As always, I have been Mosley. You've been a bunch of sexy fucking beasts, and this has been yet another episode of that Full Moon madness, baby. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Much more to come. We'll see you back here real soon.